Hello, permit me to welcome you to the new month as this is my first video in May, and I'm going to be talking about communications audit, which is something that all professionals need to pay attention to, but a lot of us don't. So I'm going to tell you what it is and why it's important, because you may be wondering, why is Adedoyin talking to us about a communications audit? How is this meant to benefit me? I'm going to talk to you about that. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you about the course. You know that I like to go in depth, I like to break things down, and I like to give you practical tools that you can use to implement the things that you're learning. But let's start off with what is a communications audit and why is it important? So basically, it's a comprehensive review of your organization's communications. It helps you to determine what is working well, what is not, what might work better if adjustments and improvements are made. So I believe I did my first full communications audit 2 years ago. Now, you can do a communications audit internally by yourself, or you can bring in an external consultant, but you know that it will cost more to bring in an external consultant. But being able to do it on your own, this is what I learned from the first communications audit that I did. It was for a firm that was into e-commerce. One of the things that the communications audit revealed is that people in different departments had different understanding of what the organization was about, its mission and its purpose. And you can imagine how that will have an effect in the delivery of the work that they're doing. If one person believes X about the organization, another person believes Y about the organization, there's already internal confusion. So one of the things we then did post that audit is to say, look, there needs to be alignment. So it then means that the onboarding of the staff, needed to be looked into, and how the key messages, the purpose and mission vision of the organization, how it is reiterated was very important. Part of that audit, I also had to look through what's the customer perception of the brand is. Was it consistent to what the brand says it is? Because it's one thing for your organization to say, this is who we are. And it's another thing for your customers and your stakeholders to say, no, this is who you are. And if there's a disparity between those two, then obviously there's something wrong with your communication. All of these things that I've just explained can be reviewed from a communications audit. So here's why you need to do an audit. First of all, it shows you how your organization is currently performing with regards to communication. So part of doing a communications audit is you will go through your social media handles. You start from your website, your communication channels, whether it's Instagram, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's YouTube, newsletters. If you have a WhatsApp, for example, where you communicate with your customers, even your sales channels, whatever means through which you communicate with your audience or your stakeholders, you have to audit it. So in the example I was giving you about the e-commerce organization, I also had to speak to the people handling sales, because they were the ones directly, or one of the ones directly interfacing with their customers, delivery, orders. I needed to understand what were the kind of things they were saying to the customers and what were the kind of complaints that were coming in. And we saw that certain things were as a result of communication gaps, which could have been easily solved by the communication team. Sometimes you will see that there are gaps that is management that has to do with, or some other department, but at least you're able to see how your organization is performing with regards to communication, which then ties into the second point. It helps you to improve. So when you see the gaps, you're like, okay, what can we do to close these gaps? There's a misunderstanding in terms of our mission or what our brand stands for. How do we change this? So maybe we need to do a brand awareness campaign, or we need to do something else to help people to understand what we're about. Or the executives, the leaders, the spokespersons now need to begin to engage with clusters of stakeholders periodically, so that you're able to communicate the key messages of the organization, so that you're able to get their feedback and get them as ambassadors for the organization. And doing that would then give you the opportunity to gain valuable feedback from internal stakeholders. Like I said to you in the example of the first one that I did, I spoke to people in the executive team, I spoke to people in the sales team, I spoke to the social media communications team, I spoke to the marketing team, across board. I was even there. They had like a brainstorming session. I was there, able to get feedback. And because, it was, some of it was one-on-one interviews, and I'll go to the tools that you can use. They were able to open up on certain challenges, and that also helped with the recommendations that I gave to the organization. So you're able to hear from your colleagues internally, what are the challenges, what ways is the organization connecting with them or disconnecting with them. Because think about it, if your internal stakeholders do not even understand or you're not communicating with them properly, it's going to affect external communication. And then you also get to speak to your client as well. What do they like about your organization? I think one of the questions that I asked the clients of the organization that I spoke about is, what does this organization do well, in your opinion? A lot of interesting things came out from that. And then finally, it creates alignment in messaging and purpose with key stakeholders within the organization and also outside of the organization. There's nothing worse than you having team members, employees, internal stakeholders that are confused about what the vision is. Like the example that I gave you, this one, the starting point was the meaning of the organization, the name of the company. So the company had this, these companies that have abbreviated names. And I said to them, so one of the first questions I asked in the focus group, so what does this mean? And different answers. And you're like, ideally, it should be one answer. So what you're able to then do is you're able to create that alignment. When you see the gaps, when you see the barriers, you create the alignment, you see blockages, you see things that are not working. And audits also, and I'll probably do another video on this, helps you to see where there are weaknesses, even in your communication strategies, where your strategy has been based on the wrong assumption, or where maybe it was based on the right assumption, but things have changed. And so what will an audit reveal? So like I just said, it will reveal flaws or gaps in your communication strategy. It will also reveal the level of awareness of your key messages. There are a lot of organizations that people are not really sure what they're about. People are not really sure what they stand for, what is their exact strength. And a communication audit will reveal that to you, and that will help you, for example, to be able to tackle that. It also reveals the effectiveness of your communication channel. Some of you may then realize that, oh, we're focusing on Instagram. Actually, LinkedIn is where we should be focusing on. Oh, actually, WhatsApp is a key channel for us that we're not paying attention to. Oh, our website actually can be better optimized to give us more traffic. There's so many things that it will reveal. And finally, it will reveal the best way to communicate with your internal and external stakeholders. This is a very thorough thing. Usually when I do a comms audit for an organization, I can spend between 3 to 6 weeks because there will be interviews. You have to look at the data. You have to analyze the data. You have to go through the different social media channels. You have to see what's working. Sometimes I would also, depending on the organization, if the organization has a communication strategy, I would look through it and just understand really in a robust manner what's working. How is this organization communicating? Is it effective? Are they using their spokesperson? You might realize that their spokesperson is not an effective spokesperson. Maybe they need another spokesperson, or maybe the spokesperson just needs some sort of training. So those are the kind of things that your audit will reveal. Like I said, tools to use for an audit. So one-on-one interviews, like the e-commerce company that I told you about, I started off with a general focus group for the different departments. So I didn't put together executives and team department leads and all of that in one group, because think about it, if you have executives in the same meeting as maybe like junior staff, depending on the culture of the organization, but almost always the junior staff will either keep quiet or they won't be as open. So I had a session with the executives, I had a session with the department heads, and I had a session with the junior staff. And it was the session with the junior staff was so revealing. We spent hours on that focus group. It was really good. And then we did one-on-one interviews. So I interviewed key persons as identified by the organization from different teams, just to get a sense of how communications is done internally. What is this organization's purpose? How does it connect to the customer? So it also gave me a bigger picture of what happens when somebody picks the phone to make an order to the order being delivered. What are the communication channels? Where are the blockages? Where are the disconnects? And that also helped in the recommendations that I gave. You can also do surveys. You can look at the SWOT analysis. Where is this organization strong in terms of its communications? Where is it weak? So this SWOT analysis is communications based. So it's not like a general SWOT analysis that you would do in a comms plan, for example. It's very specific to communications. And in the course, I would show you the difference and what you would highlight in this. And then you would do a manual review. So manual review of strategies, manual review of documentation. For example, the call center, how do you engage with the customers when they call? What is the script? How do you deal with the challenges? How can we reduce call center time? Because you know that if you're able to contribute towards reducing the time each call center agent spends on a call, that actually saves the organization money. And if you've watched my comm strategy course, or you've downloaded it, or you've bought it rather, you would know that that's something that shows business outcomes. That's something that shows that comms is contributing to the bottom line because you're able to save money. Contributing to bottom line is not just about making money, it's how you also save the organization money. If you want to know more about this, just watch I have a video on comms objective, and I also have a course that goes into detail about that. So these are some of the tools, but in the course, I will go into different tools and I will give you case studies. You know, I like case studies on how to do it and how this would apply to your particular organization and what to do with the findings. So let's come to the course. So it's the Master the 360 Comms Audit. So I would show you a step-by-step breakdown of how to carry out a robust communications audit. One thing that I should highlight, because somebody may be saying, how often or how frequently should I be doing a communications audit? You can do it as frequently as one time or once per year, or once every 2 years, depending. But it's not something that you do because of the amount of time and the amount of information that you will get. It's not something that you're going to be doing more than once a year. The ideal thing is if you do it once a year, you get the recommendation, that should put you on a good channel. That should put you on a good path to achieving what it is you want to achieve as a comms team. And it improves your efficiency as a communications team. I've done communications audits for organizations, and their teams always call to say, thank you. You helped us. The audit is helping us to work more efficiently. The audit is helping us to deliver on organizational outcomes and expectations. It makes the senior leaders happy. It makes the comms team happy. So it's something that you should absolutely do, because imagine if there is a gap that is not necessarily the fault of the communications team, you're able to flag it and then you're able to find solutions to it as well. And then I'm going to teach you how to gather information for your audit and analyze it, because they sometimes, depending on how big your organization is or the hierarchical structure, there may be a lot of information. So I'm going to tell you the ones that you really need to focus on so that your audit is very, very like streamlined, and it's also accurate in terms of the recommendations that you give. And then how do you draw conclusions from the data and the information that you receive and get the proper recommendations that positions the communications team and the organization where it needs to be. And then finally, a communications audit checklist. So it's going to be a very robust course. It's coming out this May, so watch out for that. Stay tuned, hit subscribe on this channel, follow me on LinkedIn. Perhaps let me just go to the last slide. So follow me on LinkedIn, on social media. I'll release the date once it's out. And as always, if there's a course or if there's something you would like to learn with regards to communications and public relations, you can send me an email, you can leave a comment, or you can send me a DM on LinkedIn, and I would either do it as a short course like this or do it as a robust 2-hour course that goes into the details. Thank you very much for watching. I also want to say a special shout out to everyone that watches a video, likes, leaves a comment, and then goes ahead to subscribe. Someone was saying, Adedoyin, you do YouTube wrong. You're not asking people to subscribe. Yet I'm almost at 200 subscribers. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for just the value that you derive from this content that I post. Thank you for encouraging me to post even more. And I hope to engage with you more. And I hope that this is beneficial for you. If you've never done a communications audit, start thinking about doing one. It's going to benefit you. Trust me, it's going to really, really improve the work that you do as a communications professional. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and look forward to releasing the comms audit course in a few weeks. Bye.